listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where I feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. And speaking of successful lawyers, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Mitchell Chaban. Mitchell is a partner at Chicago-based Levin Ginsburg. He represents business entities, municipalities, and individuals in commercial, business, and employment-related litigation in state and federal courts all around the country. Mitchell, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Is this your first podcast? I forgot to ask you that before.
This is my maiden run on a podcast. Very excited for the opportunity.
Awesome. I haven't been doing it too long, but I usually ask people that before our intro, and just to kind of, I'm just curious from time to time, because a lot of times when I have guests on, they're like, I've never done a podcast. Am I supposed to do something? Or how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, it's fine. We're just having a conversation. Cool. So, Mitchell, tell me more about Levin Ginsburg, the firm you are a partner at. What do you guys do?
Well, Levin Ginsburg has a long and storied history. The firm is 40 years old this year.
Wow.
Its founding partners, Joe Ginsburg and Bob Levin, are business law attorneys that really focus on transactions. They formed the firm in 1980 and have built it to currently 14 lawyers. We're a full practice business firm. We generally represent small, medium, and some large companies, as well as municipalities and some select individuals in all manner of business law. Litigation, employment law, contracts, corporate mergers and acquisitions, securities, estate planning, business succession planning, soft intellectual property, so things like trademarks, copyrights, license agreements. We stay away from patents. We don't do family law. We don't do personal injury, and we don't do bankruptcy. But other than that, we pretty much cover the full gamut of the type of legal issues that business owners will encounter.
Gotcha. And I think I read somewhere you've been at the firm for 15 years of that 40?
My 15th anniversary will be this January. So just a few weeks from now, it'll be incredibly 15 years since I joined Levin Ginsburg.
That's awesome. So did you come in as like an associate or?
This is my 25th year of practicing law. So by the time I got to Levin Ginsburg, I had already been at this for 10 years.
Okay.
I came in as a senior associate because I didn't have much of a book of business. I had been at a couple of different firms before I got to Levin Ginsburg, where those firms really wanted me to focus on doing the legal work, working the files, billing hours, generating revenue. I was not encouraged or incentivized to go and develop my own book of clients. And as I reached about the 10th year of my practice, I started to get opportunities to represent clients that weren't already represented by the firm I worked for, and I was not really supported in pursuing those opportunities. So that was the signal to me that I should move to a firm that was more entrepreneurial and would support my efforts to build a business of my own. And one of the real hallmarks of Levin Ginsburg is that all of our attorneys are entrepreneurial. We all have an obligation and we're all committed to bringing in business ourselves as well as doing the work. So we are complete attorneys. We like to think of ourselves as Renaissance lawyers. So we're really good at what we do. We're really enthusiastic about what we do, and we're all about bringing value to the relationships we have with our clients and our referral sources.
So did that entrepreneurial spirit start from day one at Levin Ginsburg? Was it always the case where like you're going to be involved in the business aspect, the marketing aspect, the day-to-day operation aspect, as opposed to just practicing law when you came into the firm?
That was the expectation when I was hired. I think when I was looking for opportunities around my 10th year of practice, and I was connected with Levin Ginsburg through a headhunter, in the initial interview, Joe Ginsburg said to me, "What do you want? Where do you see yourself as a lawyer?" And I said, 10 years from now, I want to be an equity partner at the firm and have $1 million book of business and be a self-sustaining lawyer and have enough work to keep some younger attorneys busy and help mentor them into becoming partners too. And I think that was the right answer. Joe Ginsburg became my mentor, and he challenged me from day one. You said you want to be a rainmaker. What are you going to do to develop business? And he made me put together a business development plan with clear goals and benchmarks and set dates to report back to him as to whether I've hit those benchmarks and what am I going to do differently if I have not. And I was held accountable year after year. And, maybe that's what it took, but it worked. In business development. Marketing, networking is just kind of a regular part of my everyday life.
That's so cool. And it's different than, a lot of the attorneys I talk to, for the most part, they've worked at firms for a little while. They kind of got the feel for how things work, and then they go off on their own. Whereas you kind of, and the attorneys at your firm have sort of been taken under the wing of someone who's been out there and allowed to kind of grow within that without facing a ton of risk, right? Maybe that you face if you just kind of opened up shop and started trying to get clients in the door from your own firm. So that's really neat that you had a mentor in the beginning like that. I know from my perspective, so this agency is we have a parent agency, and the CEO of that, Chris Dreyer, is my mentor. Similar, we started this agency, and he's been really great at holding me accountable and setting goals and showing me how that whole process works. So that's unique to you, I guess, in the law firms that I've spoken with anyway, that you've been able to grow within an organization. So back in the beginning, when you got involved with Levin Ginsburg, was there any thought in your mind about kind of starting off on your own before you came to this firm? Like, did you ever think about I might want to just start my own deal?
I did. And the thing that deterred me from pursuing a solo practice is that after 10 years of working for firms, I was very confident in my ability to do the work in my area of practice, but not confident in doing work outside of my areas of practice. And I didn't want to pass up on opportunities to build relationships simply because the opportunity that presented itself wasn't an area of law that I had experience in. So I felt I needed the backing of a firm that, had a breadth of practice areas that would help me bring clients in for whatever the initial need was, and then get sticky with them and develop a personal relationship. And just tangentially, my personal philosophy, and that's probably not unique to me, that I believe I really have a client when that person or business calls me about something that has nothing to do with legal services, because they trust me as an advisor to steer them in the right direction, to find them the right person, or whatever the solution is, even if it has nothing to do with legal work and it doesn't mean a fee for me or my firm. And whenever I talk to a potential client, and by the time I'm seeing them, they probably already have a lawyer. So why would you make the change? And so what I say to them, and I might be giving away a little trade secret here, what I say to them is, if your existing attorney, CPA, banker, if they're not opening up their world of contacts to you to make introductions and connections to help you solve your problems and accomplish your goals, you're not getting the full value out of those relationships. So what I'm offering you, consumers of legal services look at lawyers a lot of the way that you and I would look at going to a doctor. You just expect that the doctor's competent and he's going to get it right. So There's no there's no, extra payoff you get for just doing a good job. That's expected. But the things that the client remembers are that I took their call on Saturday, that I talked them off the ledge when they were about to make a really emotional decision that they probably would have regretted, and that they remember when they needed their CFO quit and they were in a pinch and they really needed someone right away, and I connected them with the right people. Those are the things that they remember. They don't remember what the legal product looks like. It's just like you don't remember when the doctor set your broken arm. It just worked out, but you remember the experience you had going to the office. So we try to deliver the best client experience possible, because just getting a good result is already expected. So maybe I've gone off the tangent on what you asked me there. But.
No, that's great. And yeah, you're right. I mean, very seldom do we remember exactly what it was we liked about any service that we buy. We just remember the experience, whether it would be good or bad. If it's negative, we remember it being negative. We don't really, can't really pinpoint it. And if it's positive, and it's good that you're dependable for your clients and they're able to rely on you, which leads me to my other question about people at your firm. So you have 14 attorneys. How do you find good people like that are entrepreneurial, that are able to put in the grit and the work? How a lot of law firms that I talk to, maybe they're looking to hire their first associate or get someone else in the door to help scale things. How do you find good people like that?
Well, that's a great question. So in my 15 or so years at Levin Ginsburg, my observation is our best hires, whether they be attorneys, support staff, administrator, have always been referrals from people who already work at our firm. So people who are being brought in by my partners or my colleagues, and they already know them. We already have a pretty good idea of what we're getting. Those tend to be the best hires for us. Historically, at least again, over the last 15 years or so, we've not had a lot of success with our farm system in the sense of hiring a first year out of law school and keeping them, all the way through their associateship till the point where we can promote them to a partner. In the 15 years, we've had some great hires out of law school, and they stuck around for a while. And then for one reason or another, they left to go in-house, they left to go to a bigger firm, they moved away, whatever it was. So we have had difficulty bringing, people up from the beginning, although I will tell you, coincidentally, today, we made an offer to our law clerk, who is our clerk while he was a third-year law student. He graduated in 2020. He passed the bar this summer, and so now he's officially an associate at our firm. So we haven't given up on the farm system, but, in the long term, it has not yielded, what we had hoped for. So we're tinkering with the way we handle it in the hope that this guy who we love is going to be with us for the next, 30 years of his career.
That's awesome. You mentioned farm system. Is that, what is that? Is that just a term you refer to for recruiting good people?
Yeah, it's a sports reference, to a baseball farm system that a lot of firms, years ago, they would go to the law schools and they try to find them, real good students and bring them in as law clerks or summer associates, get to know them, and then find the ones that you think are really going to fit the culture of your firm and do a good job and bring them in as first-year associates and train them the way you want them to be trained. And that was really the way things worked, I'd say, until about 2008, when we had the big, financial crisis. Then the law firms started shedding younger lawyers and partners that weren't carrying their weight. And now suddenly no one was interested in hiring a first-year lawyer. It's probably a year and a half, 2 years from when you hire them before you really start making money on them. Okay. The dirty secret about law school is you get out of law school, you can pass the bar and they hand you a license that says you can practice law, but the reality is you don't know how to practice law yet, and you need to be mentored. And there's a cost of a more senior attorney time spent teaching younger lawyers how to do this. I mean, I enjoy doing that. It's a necessary part of our profession, but it's a sunk cost in those younger lawyers. I should say newer lawyers. Some of them are in their second careers. They may not be chronologically young, but they're new lawyers. And so I think a lot of firms have gotten away from that because they don't want to sink the resources in to train this person, because the odds of an associate attorney spending 20 years at one firm right now is pretty low, which again, our experience bears that out. We've trained new lawyers for 5, 6, 7 years. They get to be really good. And then for one reason or another, they move on and you got to start over. So that sunk investment is gone. So, that's what I mean by the farm system. We haven't given up on it yet. I think our selection criteria may have changed a bit since we, sort of looked into why are our associates leaving after a period of time. And there isn't one reason for it, but, and none of them would ever say, I think, or at least not to our face, that they weren't happy. It was either they had a reason why they had to leave. Like one moved away, got married and moved. Another one took a job in-house because it was just an easier lifestyle. And, not that they weren't happy at the firm, but they just didn't necessarily want that level of intensity.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I wanted to switch gears a little bit here and talk about, what's been going on with COVID and everything and how that's changed how businesses operate. Has that changed or impacted your firm a lot and how you guys conduct business?
Well, it's certainly impacted us the way it's impacted everybody. Our office has essentially been closed. We have been working remotely since the middle of March. If we have clients that have a need or a desire to meet in person, we will do that. In terms of court proceedings and such, those are mostly being conducted remotely. So in that way, it has impacted the practice, but in a surprisingly positive way. There's a lot of efficiencies built into these video hearings. Doesn't work so well for like contested court hearings where you have to present evidence and examine witnesses, but for routine court hearings, it works great. But more to your question about how has it impacted the firm, we used to host a lot of things at our office. Our various partners belong to different organizations, and they would host meetings, and any potential opportunity I'd have for a new client or something, I'd always try to get them to the office. They get a feeling of who we are. They can meet some of my colleagues. I think we present well when you come to our office.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a challenge. But sort of ironically, although it's inhibited our ability to meet face to face, I've had people that I've worked with where they work at a company that we represent, and I've been doing legal work for that company for years, but I've never met this person. I've only talked to them on the phone. I've never seen them face to face. Well, now we have these video meetings, and so for the first time in 10 years, I can put like a face to the name. So you don't get the in-person meeting now, but I think you get more face-to-face than you did before.
Do you think you'll keep any of these new processes as things kind of get back to normal?
I think that I will. To me, the biggest development is what we're doing right now, this video conference where I can actually see you, and at a low cost, a whole bunch of us can jump on and have a team meeting and break out into separate rooms. And the technology is, really powerful and creates a lot of opportunities. I think it would be foolish to not continue to use this and find ways to leverage, all the things that this can do.
Yeah, agreed. I know we've always worked remotely, and so my world didn't change much, but it's neat to see businesses adapt. I've always thought that was interesting, and it's neat to see law firms be able to leverage technology and change things and find new ways to operate. Is there any other business processes that you guys use? You're a bigger firm. A lot of the firms I talk to, it might be one attorney or maybe two, with maybe one or two support staff. Is there any processes that you use to remain efficient, keep things moving in a efficient manner?
As as an organization, I think we're always looking at streamlining our processes, whether that's, and this doesn't really apply so much in my practice area, whether that's creating form documents that can be filled out by just filling in the fields, or creating banks of legal research that we've done on other cases to sort of have a knowledge bank of work we've already done. So when these issues come up again, we have an efficient way to go get that. We're always looking to leverage technology that way. I am not involved in that committee. I think you're talking to me, my technological skills are pretty rudimentary. But I we're in kind of a transition. The two founding partners of the firm are now, well into their 50th plus year of practice. So it's sort of a generational transfer to, my generation now is kind of in control of the firm. There are some, folks a bit younger than me that are more technologically savvy, that are looking at other platforms to switch to kind of upgrade some of our existing technology. And that's where I think the efficiencies is in the use of technology.
That's cool that you have people coming into the firm that are comfortable doing that. My final question for you. If an attorney's listening, maybe they're working at a firm and they're thinking about going off on their own, or maybe just like you did, go into a firm that has more opportunities for equity partnership, what would be a piece of advice you'd give to them?
I guess I have two pieces of advice.
Awesome.
Whether you're going to go out on your own, or whether you're going to try to build a book of business with a firm behind you, my first piece of advice is figure out who you are as a lawyer in a major metropolitan area like, Metro Chicago. You cannot be all things to all people. So you need to decide what kind of law you practice and what kind of clients you do and can represent, and focus on that. That's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, the number one thing you can do as an attorney to get business is to give business. And it's a way of life to look for opportunities, to ask the right questions, get the right information, to make connections so that commerce happens for other people. If you can do that, business will come back to you.
There you have it. Sage advice. You've been listening to Mitchell Chaban, partner at Levin Ginsburg. Mitchell, where can people go to learn more about the firm?
You can go to www.lgattorneys.com and check out our website, or you can reach out to me, Mitchell Chaban. I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything. If you have a legal issue about anything, I'm happy to talk to you, and the initial consultation is always cost-free.
Nice. Thanks for being on the show, Mitchell.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.